Right, hi everyone. So today basically I'm gonna go over some deck building theory. I know this deck's obviously banned and all the rest of it and unplayable now, but the theory behind it still remains solid. The theory is useful for format where there's like a prominent deck in the format with its tier 0, very high tier 1, which we could be coming into in the February 2023 format with Kashira. And then there's lots of other decks that aren't as good. So putting this in the context of Lyon, the best deck was Tier by far. Like that was the best deck. But there was also other good decks like Sprite. Sprite was pretty good. Took a few spaces in top cut. Kashira is pretty good. By pretty good I mean if you didn't draw the out you lost. Very much the same with Thunder. And then there was a couple of other decks such as like the Runic Stun and Chewy Runic. So there's quite a lot to prepare for. But like I said, predominantly it was Tia that was the best deck. The only problem you had with Leon was because it was right after a new set release, you sort of had to predict whether people were going to be on the hype for Kashtira, playing Kashtira, or if they were going to be, if they'd actually tested the format and they actually found that Tia was the best deck. And then you also had to factor in the fact that the event, like the set released on the Thursday, the event had to have deck list submission by Friday. So there was a number of factors that would have stopped people from playing Kashtira. And this is all what we take into account for in the deck. So I've ordered the deck in such a way that there's like less debate for the cards at the start and there's more debate for the cards at the end. So if we just go through it real quick, no one's going to debate about the 2 Rhino, 3 Murder, 3 Sheer, and 3 Happiness, 3 Keldor, 3 Medora, 3 Kelbeck, 3 Planet, 1 Interfusion, 1 Terraforming, 2 Scream and a Sullock. Briefly go over why didn't want to run the third Scream and the second Sullock, because I think these are like the first talking points. Naturally, 28 cards in, so the third Scream didn't think was needed. I thought the deck was consistent enough with the addition of the Tier Cache. The Tier Cache really increased the consistency of the deck, and it was definitely worth cutting the third Scream to make way for the third Tier Cache, because the Tier Cache give you interaction in your turn and interaction in opponent's turn, so that was worth searching. And you were milling it, you're milling so many cards, you just milling it often enough to the point where you just don't need that many mills, because you will hit. Second Sullock, the reason why I didn't play a second Sullock was simply because I wanted crime in the main. Like I wanted to main this crime. I think this is still a wise decision, because every card in the side deck was utilized to maximum capacity, and I didn't want to take up another slot in that side with a crime. So yeah, that's why I was on 1 Sullock, 1 crime. I didn't want to put this deck out over 44 because it did all the maths for the 43 card deck, and I didn't want to go any higher, to be honest. And also I just didn't want to damage consistency of, like, I want to see the planet, you know, I want to see my Keldor, Kelbeck sort of combo. They're the things I want to see, so trying to keep as low as possible but fitting all that engine in. Yeah, so Sullock and crime, they were my 2 traps. I do understand that the second Sullock's better to mill, but to be honest, when you're playing the Tier Cache, if you're milling in their turn using the Tier Cache to banish, or the Bestials as prevalent as they are, that crime is alive just a lot of the time, so it's still not bad. It's not that much worse than the Sullock. So now another talking point would be the Agitos, 2 Agitos, not 3. This was just because on the last day, like on the Friday, we were just playtesting the mirror, really struggling to beat each other going first, and as a last minute decision we took out the third Agito and the orange light, because obviously there's no orange light in this list, for 2 more Bestials, because we were on the 7 Bestials, and we cut the Agito and the orange light to put it up to 9. Lots of advantages and disadvantages to that. Obviously, Herald is an absolute blowout when you want more Agitos in the deck for the opponent to mill. We couldn't drop the Agitos below 2 because you need one to special to make Dweller, and you might have already milled one, or you might have already used one, so you do need two. Two's a minimum, and that's what we chose to do, because we chose to minimise as much as possible. That's why we're on the 2 screen, the 1 solo, the 1 crime, not 2 solo, 1 crime, even though that's not a ratio people would play. But definitely not 3 screen, just to try and bring the most amount of non-engine into this deck, and we'll talk about the non-engine later. Just before I move on to the Bestials, I want to talk about the tier caches. So the tier caches, they're just insanely broken. This card wasn't on it for the longest time, literally until like the week before I started playtesting with this card, because I just thought it was terrible. But you've got to get into a certain philosophy of like, if you can't play, then like you can't play it anyway. Like if you can't play, you just can't play. Whereas this is a huge neg. It's a massive neg, and like if you miss off this, you neg 2. But if you weren't playing anyway, you weren't going to win anyway. So it doesn't matter if you got 3 cards, 4 cards, 6 cards, 10 cards. If you're not playing, you're not playing. So that's why it was worth to just go super neg to be within a chance of winning a game going second. So that's why I played this as a very high roll strategy. But if you don't high roll, you were never going to win. So you might as well give yourself the best chance to get lucky. So that's to play the tier cache. And obviously Mills 3, it's got a lot of attacks, pretty good. It adds a lot of consistency in the deck. That's why I was most happy to play it. So then it leaves us the 9 non-engine slots to run out the deck of 43, which is the 9 Bestials. We chose the 9 Bestials because we expected in our testing we found that the mirror match was obviously the hardest match to consistently beat. Found it was the best deck into everything else, and to be honest, we knew the best players would be on this. But it was very difficult to work out actually what percentage of the room were good enough to know that this was a good deck. It turns out a pretty high percentage, to be honest, but I think you can help this out because people like Joshua Schmidt and stuff who stream give a lot of good solid advice out to people, and I think Schmidt told everyone who's on Tia Shizu like a week or 2 before the event, so I think everyone was still understanding it was the best deck, and that Kishtu wasn't going to be too prevalent into the format. And the Bestials are good against, there was a bit of a meta going on at this time, and you had Bestials are good against Bright, Bestials are good in the mirror, but they're absolutely useless against Flu, and they're absolutely useless against Kashtira. So it was a lot of cards to commit into the mirror, but if you go first against Kashtira, you can win. If they brick, you win. If you resolve a decent Havness, sometimes you might be able to win. Whereas in the mirror, they very, very rarely brick. You don't always win going first if the mills don't go your way, or if they open broken. So it's just like you felt like you needed the extra Bestials to consistently have a chance with the mirror, and going second in the mirror, you have absolutely zero chance if you do not have the Bestials, and we found that on Friday. So we put Bestials in. So while we're on the topic of these cards, we'll go straight to the side deck because this makes the most sense. So the side deck, I think everyone agreed you had to be on 1 Sky Shot, 1 Heartbeat, and 3 Book of Clips. Then after that, sides are pretty wild. Because we had so much main here for the mirror, we didn't really side anything for the mirror at all. It just so happened that the nibs were good into the mirror going second, so we could take out a Scream and a Crime going second and putting 2 nibs in, which is pretty good because they sort of acted as the 10th and the 11th Bestial. But yeah, the rest of these were just straight hard outs for Kashtira, so Eclipse out with the whole board, Lunar Eclipse out with the whole board, and Dark Roller out with the whole board with the insistence of Exciter Knight. And if they banish the Exciter Knight with the Unicorn or Diabolosis, we could then slap a Zeus on top of a Baguska and out the board that way, or slap a Zeus on top of a Dweller and save the Baguska for later. So that Dark Ruler made Exciting out the board, that was pretty good. So these were just 9 hard outs for Kashtira, and then obviously the nibs were outs for Kashtira also. And then the Twins as well. There was a lot of hyper on the Labyrinth deck going in this tournament. The new cards just being released for on Hypernova made it really, really good. I didn't want to get stuck behind a Floodgate. There's Runic Stun, so always a possibility of that, so we didn't want to get stuck behind a Floodgate. So Twins, and then obviously Twin is just an FTK against Thunder, and it comes up in a lot of matches, and I was putting this in going first against Kashtira because it's actually really good to hit the Birth and the Planet as well. Sometimes just hitting the Planet can turn off the whole turn. So yeah, this is there was a lot of utilisation with the side deck. There was 9 breakers into the Kashira matchup and 2 nib, so you had a lot. And then obviously into Kashira as well, you had the possibility of resolving a Havness on their Fenrir or Unicorn. I know they hit one from the extra deck, but you weren't winning that game anyway, so it's more like giving yourself a chance. As a tier cash, again, giving yourself a chance. Not much for the mirror, because you don't need it. There's only these two for going second, because our deck's suited for the mirror, so that's what we did. We sort of made the concession of we'll lose game 1 when we go second to the flues, the cashes, that sort of thing. But we should be within a good chance of winning going second in the mirror, which is good, because I lost a lot of dice rolls going in the mirror day 1. Still managed to only lose against 1 mirror the whole tournament after playing like 7, so it's pretty good. So yeah, it's a side. Can go much more into side and patterns later on, but basically the way the side works and the way the main works, we sort of had like a 90% chance of drawing it out against a Kashira board, and we had a 90% chance of drawing a good card into the mirror, and something like 60 or 70% chance of drawing 2. That'd be your 2 Bestials or your Nib Bestial or your Havness Bestial, or the list goes on. Then we move to the extra deck. Like I say, I think 12 these cards are absolutely fixed. So 2K, Mud, Collider, Kalos, Juxtapalia, Garura, Dweller, Zeus, Bakuska, Dark, Sprint. Not going to talk about any of those. Absolutely 100% standard. You've seen them a million lists before. Elf, seen people quite Elf. You only have to watch my round of each match to understand how Elf is so good against literally everything. I mean, Elf, Baguska is just one of the best boards ever against Rogue. And then Elf Dweller is absolutely insane in the mirror, because what they're doing throughout that, they can't suit Poly. They're in the Dweller, they're getting Merly. If you got a Scream, you're milling 6, you're probably going to hit an issues, you're going to mill more. Their deck's useless. It's just absolutely excellent. Elf was great. I mean, you did have to be careful that you didn't get Dweller Zeus over your Elf, but it just extended so many plays. It made everything so much more possible. You could get the target protection was ridiculous. Briefly went over Exciton to out the board with the Dark Willers, and then Wallow, which was the last card. I mean, this card is absolutely ridiculous in the mirror, and considering 9 Pistols, you'll need one of those and make Brewery. You get the draw of Brewery, you get to set the card. The card's insane in the mirror. It helps you out IPF marks, it adds all sorts of problems. We went on the goo, but basically the goo was for the event and the BLS link. This side with the BLS link, no problem. So yeah, Wallow was just sort of a jack of all trades kind of card. It was really good into almost every situation, so I'm really happy with that. It was a really good choice. Literally would not change anything about that deck. I was absolutely happy about that deck. The only thing could maybe be argued is because I lost Kashira in the top 64, that I could have put more out, but I think having the 3 Havness, the 3 tier cash, the 2 nib that we could open in the starting 5, so that's 8 cards in the starting 5 that were pretty good. And then we had 9 cards in the starting 6 that were just won the game. It was just unfortunate that I did see a Havness, but he had the Gravekeeper's Inscription trap, so I couldn't use it. So it was sort of like he went first, he had the Inscription trap, the Inscription spell, and Nibiru was my 6th card. I didn't see any breakers, the list goes on, but he didn't have any sets, so I think if I had any breaker, I probably won that game and advanced to the top 32. And this obviously worked well for Danny as well, because he ended up getting top 16. So yeah, I wouldn't change anything with the list. I thought it was absolutely perfect, and I wouldn't have been surprised if this list won the event. I thought it was a lot better equipped into Kashira than a lot of the other lists there, and I thought it was a lot better equipped into the mirror, and that was at the end of the day the 2 biggest matchups. So concluding this and wrapping it all up, basically there's quite a lot to be learned from this deck. Basically you build for the mirror, the one that you think is going to be the hardest. You take the game 1 loss on the chin to the decks when you go second against them, like the Kashiras, the Flunder. I'm never beating those going second, and I've got no cards in my deck too, outside of a lucky Havness or a lucky tier cash. So I just concede those games, and you take them on the chin when they happen, and then you side the outs. Going first shouldn't be a problem, because you're engine so much better than ever getting back into the game. And then going second, I mean, against Flunder, you're looking at a 13 card side in with the the Harpy, the Twins, the Dark Rulers, the Lunar Eclipse, the Book of Eclipse, sorry, 12 card siding, and then against Kishiro 11 card sidings. There's so many cards going in to just beat them game free, and that's what you got to do, because if you make the concessions to play half good against here, half good against Cash, which we tried, you'll just end up drawing like a Book of Eclipse into tier and Bestials into Cash, and it's just no good. You'd rather, if you can draw the Bestials into Cash, you'd rather draw the Bestials into tier as well, so you might as well maximise on them. And the Bestials added a lot of consistency in the deck. They got you into the Wallow plays, they got your links in climbing sprint. There was a lot of people on Beatrice, which made the Bestials a lot better, but I just didn't think it was needed. Never really come up for me. Danny said it come up for him once. It's tough to say, because I feel like I had access to everything anyway, and when I didn't have access to something, it was practically impossible for me to get Beatrice anyway, because when you don't have access to something, you need the 2 level 6s. So I think, yeah, I'm pretty happy with this. So yeah, golden rules: build the deck for the thing that you think is going to be most represented, and then side for the thing that you think is going to be the second most represented, and just go from there. I hope you enjoyed. Hope you learned something. Cheers.